It's time for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group with certified financial planners Kevin Korhorn, Mike Bernard, and Josh Gregory.
Welcome to another episode of the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group, where every week we're helping you take your next wise step in your financial life. Thanks for being here, friends. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm your host. I'm also one of the certified financial planners on the program. And with me in the KFG studios, my business partners and fellow CFPs, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory.
Your 50s are a crucial decade for retirement planning, but for many people, it could be a decade of financial mistakes that hurt their future. Whether you're mismanaging debt or overlooking tax strategies, these mistakes can set you back when retirement is just around the corner. We're sharing the 7 most common money mistakes people make in their 50s. That and more coming up on this hour of the Wise Money Show.
And my guess is there's going to be extra credit there. We've got the first 7 laid out, but I'm assuming there's going to be more because your wealth is a secret. You don't know the inner workings of someone else's financial situation. Maybe they've transitioned to retirement and you've just watched them and you think, oh, they've got it all figured out. When in fact, their plan isn't great and they're walking right into some traps. We're going to help you avoid those. If you have a question for the program, we'd love to hear from you. You can call or text us 574-222-2000. That's 574-222-2000. Online, wisemoneyshow.com is where you can find us, engage with us that way. Leave questions there as well. And then all over social media, wherever you're at, we are there as well. Search The Wise Money Show. So we're getting into some financial mistakes. And just a word of caution before we do that. We're pointing this out so that you can avoid some of these well-worn, good-intentioned paths that don't lead you where you want to go. But we want to caution you right out of the gate. If you are feeling behind with retirement, if you've made some of these mistakes, you can recover. It's not too late. You are one great financial choice away from that upward spiral to help you get back on track or to get more traction or achieve your financial goals. It's possible. Work with your certified financial planner. At the same time, it's football season. Not sure if you're a big football fan. There's never a good place to have a turnover, but certainly the red zone turnovers, like those will drive you crazy as a fan.
We watched it happen a couple times recently, thankfully just during scrimmages, but 2 times inside the 1-yard line.
Oh, no.
The coaches were hot. I'll just say that.
Yeah. And financially, you want to avoid that as well. You don't want to have a fumble at the last minute. And,
right.
And you know, Josh, we gave a talk long time ago, it's been over a decade now, about some of the big transitions that you go through in your life, 7 big transitions many people go through. And I remember you had the privilege of speaking about the transition of being an empty nester. And the analogy you gave is how different people respond when they finish a marathon. Kevin, you've got some on your agenda. So let me ask you, when you finish the marathon, Are you going to collapse? Or are you going to run right over to that donut tent and like start grabbing all the junk food and everything? Or are you going to say, oh, hey, thanks for the medal and the ribbon, and just jog back to the car and keep going about your day? Do you have it? Who are you going to be?
Well, so I ran the Chicago Marathon 3 times, and at the end, they give you one of these really cool like tinfoil blankets to put around
space age stuff.
Yeah, and then it was sponsored by Michelob Ultra, so everyone's just standing around drinking beer. And I'm thinking it's just kind of funny. Like I just ran 26 miles. I'm going to go undo all the goodness that I just did.
Financially, it's possible that you've made it through those child-rearing years, some of the difficult challenges in your career, and you're staring retirement in the face, and then all of a sudden you get distracted. You get off course right at the end, and you just don't finish strong. And so, want to point these out and help you avoid some of these mistakes.
And we want to do this without any kind of shame or embarrassment or anything like that. I was just talking with a friend, and he was trying to function financially, and he really was stuck because he was embarrassed. And so I tried to help him and say, look, don't be embarrassed. And I don't know how helpful that is.
Don't be mad. Next time you get in an argument with your spouse, don't be mad at me. Stop being mad.
Yell it at the
I've observed that you're mad. Don't be mad.
Don't be.
No, but I actually,
we all have financial baggage. We've all made some financial mistakes. No one's batting 1,000. Trust me. No matter what you see, they're not batting 1,000.
And so if you're listening to this right now and you feel desperate or trapped or stuck, call a financial advisor. I'm telling you, most folks, when they first come in and meet with us, they feel like bad, like they've done something wrong, or like they haven't achieved what they should have financially. And it's just, those are, I'm just going to say, those are false emotions.
Yeah, no one's judging you.
They're misplaced for sure.
Yep.
And that energy can be put someplace else better.
All right. So the 7 mistakes that costly money mistakes people tend to make in their 50s to help you avoid them. The first one, cashing out retirement accounts early. And you might be listening to that and saying, no, that's not a mistake people make in their 50s. That's a mistake people make in their 20s and their 30s. And that's true. Absolutely. Right? You switch jobs early in your career. You've got 10 grand saved up in that retirement account, and you've got 10 grand on the truck loan. And you say, oh, this could solve a problem. Here's why this one is a mistake at this stage. You've got competing goals, competing priorities. The kids are now in college. They're now trying to start their life. You're looking at the house that you raised the kids in, and you're saying, this isn't the house we want to retire in. Oh, I didn't realize we've got to make this move, and it's going to cost some money or whatever. You've got competing priorities, and financially, you might say, no, we're gonna take a chunk out of the IRA, or we're gonna liquidate that Roth or something like that, and do this thing.
Well, and it can be especially tempting because you're at a point in your life where you've never had so many resources accumulated as well, and your account balances are getting up to a size where you're like, wow, maybe there's some extra in there, and it wouldn't hurt too bad to pull out some money from a retirement account and use it as a down payment to get into that nicer house, or maybe we can afford to take our eye off the ball right now in our own retirement and help those kids when they're in college at an even higher level than what we thought. You start pulling or cannibalizing your own resources at that stage, and it may actually be eating into the money that you desperately need when you're in your 70s. And unless you know that you really are ahead, or you can quantify what amount you need to pull money out of your retirement nest egg in your 50s for other competing goals, as you said, could be completely taking you off track for your own retirement.
Yeah, I think a growing trend is going to be the house. I know I mentioned it, but we did a show a few weeks ago about moving in retirement, or at the beginning of retirement, or around that age, around that time of life, and where you're going to come up with the down payment. And even in your 50s, right, you've got income, so you'll be able to qualify, hopefully, for that mortgage. But likely you're trying to buy a house in a certain area with certain features, and therefore, with such a competitive housing environment, you're going to buy before you sell. So how do you get that down payment? Mm-hmm. If you don't have the resources for it, you might be looking at that larger than ever nest egg and saying, well, we'll just pull a little bit from here to either help with the down payment, and then, oh, trust me, we'll put the money back in.
Right.
Or, well, I'm sure there's $100,000 here that we could pull out and help with this transition. And the house seems like a common culprit, or a future culprit.
Well, not only for you as you're trying to get into a retirement house, but if your kids are leaving the college years and they're trying to get into a house, how often is it tempting to help with a down payment that was never in the plan before because you have the resources?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in your 50s, there is the risk that's a time where your adult children start having some meaningful problems manifest, and you say, I get more pleasure from helping my children and kind of taking care of them than I do from having this money piled up over here. So I'm going to do this thing without really understanding the impact that it has, especially the impact on compound interest, right?
Right.
Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it.
Mm-hmm. What a great quote. Man, I agree. Anytime that you start saying yes to other people's priorities, you have to pause and say, can I quantify? Do I know with clarity what I'm saying no to on my own list of priorities? It may be coming at your own expense and you don't even realize it.
And that might be okay. You might say, yes, this is worth it. But so often we see people take on someone else's priority and still think, well, that doesn't change my priorities. It will all still fit. When in reality, now there's some adjustment that needs to be made. And you got to work with your CFP on that. That's just one of the 7 big, costly money mistakes we want you to avoid in your 50s. That and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show. What you're watching right now is our weekly 1-hour talk show that airs right here on this channel, 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Saturday morning. Also on podcasts at the same time, and also on a couple local radio stations at the same time as well, which is why the content's structured the way that it is in long form, and we've got breaks and so on. It's for the radio program. But we've got Next Wise Step videos that air all throughout the work week right here on this channel, shorts and all of that, all designed to help you from a financial planning perspective take your next wise step in your financial life. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you're made aware every time we drop new content, and leave comments and questions below as well. We appreciate it. All righty. Mistake number 2. Short break. We'll keep her moving.
Okay. So why can you help me understand that exactly? Number 2.
The mistake of not having tax diversification or not doing tax planning in your 50s.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. Here we go. As you're saving up for retirement, are you still saving into the same basket? Is it just one basket? Has it always been the pre-tax 401k, and that's it? And now you get to your 50s and say, well, is that still the right thing? As I'm nearing retirement, do I need some tax diversification? We're helping with that right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Stay up to date on all Wise Money content. Find us online, wisemoneyshow.com, and all of our social media, wherever you're at, we are there as well. Search the Wise Money Show. Talking through the 7 most costly money mistakes people make in their 50s, that retirement red zone right before you retire. You get a little off track. And don't be alarmed if you've made any of these mistakes. You can recover from them with some great planning and proactive work with your CFP. But we want to help you avoid these mistakes if you haven't made them before. And the second mistake is not having tax diversification and ignoring tax planning. Here's a scenario. And this actually, I'll just share. Things are confidential, but my folks, they grew up in a different time and both actually grew up in poverty. And so they both got stable jobs, either in college or right out of college, and they worked at the same employer for their entire lives. Like, if there's anything to glean from their unique financial example from poverty to middle class, that's one of them. They never had interruptions in their career because they just kept working, and they worked for the same employers. And but they also saved a lot. And yet they got to the edge of retirement. This was, let's say, in their 50s, and everything was pre-tax. Everything. There was nothing in Roth, and the Roth had just been created back then, but there was nothing in Roth. There was nothing outside of the pre-tax retirement account. So therefore, every time in retirement, they were in a situation where they'd need to draw money out, it was taxable. Mm-hmm. So mistake number 2, not having tax diversification, not being aware that you should have different buckets with different tax treatment, and really not doing any proactive tax planning for Roth conversions or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned not having different buckets. There's 3 different types of accounts that you might want to own when you get to retirement. One is that traditional IRA or traditional 401k, traditional 403b, where it's all pre-tax money. You have earned those dollars, you set them aside and let them grow and compound over a long period of time without being taxed. But when you start to draw off of them in retirement, that's when you're going to pay your tax. And that could be for a monthly stream of income to live off of, or it could be a replacement on a car or a really cool vacation. Every time you go to that account, there's a tax bill attached to it. And you do that often enough on top of other income, and you might start to find yourself into higher and higher tax brackets. You might have some emergencies pop up where you have to really get aggressive on your distributions, and you might even put yourself into a tax bracket or a tax situation where there's some real pain attached to that. But the point is, you just don't have flexibility. The consequences are the consequences, and you don't have choice. That's part of the reason why we do encourage people to have Roth dollars, which are already taxed money, still tax sheltered and growing. But the beauty is that they're not just growing tax deferred, they're growing tax free, because all the money that comes out of those Roth accounts when you get to retirement, it's all tax free. You've already handled the tax paying up front. But then there's a third type of option that some people turn to when they've already filled up all the traditional and all the Roth tax shelters that they can take advantage of. And these would just be non-tax sheltered, or we call them non-qualified accounts. It might just be a joint mutual fund account or a brokerage account that you and your spouse own together. Maybe you own it in the name of a revocable trust that you've set up. But the point is that it's not really tax sheltered. So as it earns interest, there are dividends paid, all that gets reported on your tax return as you go. But when you sell or you cash in those investments, they have a different tax nature themselves as well. The people who have the strongest retirement planning and the best game plan that they're executing, I think throughout my career, they've always had all three in place. And it just means that from year to year, you can just be way more nimble. You can be more flexible, and there's just more options to you when you have lots of different places to go to access to meet those needs. And you can pinpoint where your taxable income is going to fall from year to year.
Yeah, I mean, there's retirement income sequencing that's available to you. Yep. If not, so if I were Mike's folks, and I'm not, but if I had Social Security and a pension and all pre-tax money, everything that comes in I'm paying taxes on. So my ability to be nimble and plan, but I think of a couple things. When I hit my 50s, the reason why tax planning is so important, it's likely that I'm in my peak earning years.
Right.
So I'm going to have more income exposed to taxation than ever before. So what should I do? And I was talking with a guy yesterday, and he was saying, hey, my income's about $500,000. But this year it could be about $600,000. And all I could think of was the SALT tax torpedo. Right. And so I'm like, okay, we need to get planning. We need to get serious about this. But the other thing that happens especially when I hit 50 and I hit 55, there are a couple of kind of bigger buckets that become available. When I hit 50, I can do an extra $1,000 into my IRA. I can do an extra $7,500 into my 401k. And when I hit 55, I can do an extra $1,000 per on my HSA.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's keep her moving here. The third mistake that we see a lot of people make in their 50s, costs them significantly, is not adjusting their investment risk appropriately. We've already said it a couple times. By the time you get to your 50s, you've never likely had this much accumulated and saved up, and therefore that pressure can weigh on you. And when you start seeing, I've heard this a bunch, where during some volatility, someone will say, "Oh yeah, my goodness, I heard so and so they lost $100,000 in the market." Well, if that's 5%. Yeah. Then yes,
high five in some circumstances.
Nominally, right? That's a lot of money, and yet percentage-wise, that's a very normal week potentially could be. And so you might see the nominal swings in your portfolio value and panic, and that panic can lead you to a couple different things. The hokey pokey, jump in, jump out, which is a terrible investment strategy, or the jump out. Yeah. I can't, there's no way I'll be able to, this is the phrase, and you might have thought it, and if you haven't, I'm going to say it so you can hear it and just not ever go there. I won't be able to retire if my portfolio keeps losing this much money, right? The truth is you won't be able to retire if you get off of the mechanism that allows you to generate compound returns and compound growth. if you say I can't retire by having my portfolio subject to these sorts of losses, it means you're no longer put in a position to grow, which is one of the 5 factors of your retirement. And odds are it's going to be a hard time for you to retire without that potential growth.
That's exactly right. And the very time when those emotions are the most extreme is when you've already watched your account balance fall by $100,000 or $200,000. And you're like, okay, I can't handle this anymore. Your mind is telling you that that trend is just going to keep on continuing. You're going to be broke by Christmas. And the reality is that often when our emotions are at their absolute worst, maybe we've already found the bottom and it's up from here.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So what do you do instead? Have a plan. Have a plan and have perspective. In your 50s, you should still be taking a decent amount of risk. It really depends on, when do you plan to retire and what are your resources? What's your income plan in retirement? But it's time to start talking about what that distribution strategy will be, working with your certified financial planner, and whether you're starting to put some of those pieces in place in your 50s or not. That awareness is going to help you manage your emotions. No one can predict what the stock market's going to do next week or next quarter or next year. No one knows. How do you have confidence in the face of all that uncertainty? When it comes to your investments for retirement, we call it the personal pension plan. Aligning the investment strategies that you use and the risk that you take with the time horizon. When are you going to need the money? And that will guide you unemotionally to having a certain chunk of dollars in low risk, because you're going to need them in the short term. In your 50s, you probably don't have anything in that bucket just yet. A chunk in the intermediate term, because you're going to use those dollars in the next 7 to 10 years. And then everything else then it really should be there to fight inflation for the long term and should be invested that way. So building that out, having that plan gives you that structure and confidence. So more coming up here on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. See, I almost said it. Almost said piece of beep. Almost did. It's an inside joke here. All right. Number 4. And Kevin, you're fine. One of the dangers of talking is sometimes your brain is thinking and not all of that thinking comes out of your mouth the right way. And then I do that all the time. And you guys look at me and I'm like, what did I just say? Did I say something terrible? But so that look of, that's not a fun look. So, but you're good. You are.
I hit strategy number 7.
Yeah, you're okay. That's all. It's no.
But here's the thing.
At all.
Most people on the radio only hear 6 or 7 minutes at a time anyway.
It applies in both spots, so absolutely no worries. All right. Halfway through, do we want to talk any more about investment risk?
I don't know. It does seem like, look, if you're 50, you probably need 40 more years of a compound annual growth rate of 8%. And so if you take yourself off of that track, you can if you have enough money. Like
let's pick that back up.
Okay.
Let's pick that back up. All right, here we go. So third segment. All right. What are some of the common mistakes, financial mistakes people make in their 50s that can derail and really influence their retirement? We're sharing those right now so that you can avoid them. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Every episode of the Wise Money Show is on podcast. Wherever you listen, just search the Wise Money Show, subscribe to it there, and rate the program there as well. We appreciate it. Not to make you feel bad if you've made any of these mistakes. Everyone has made financial mistakes, but we're trying to help you avoid some crucial mistakes in that retirement red zone so that you can have a confident retirement, whether that's late 50s, mid 50s, mid 60s, 70, not sure. Work with your certified financial planner on that, but we want to help you avoid some of the common pitfalls. The third mistake is not adjusting your investment risk appropriately. Now, we're saying that specifically. That doesn't mean, well, a mistake is not adjusting your risk. No, maybe it could be over adjusting or not adjusting. It depends on your goals and your specific financial situation. All right. I would say tucked in here when you're in your 50s, target date funds. I'm just going to throw that out there. Mm-hmm. Possibly when you're getting started in your saving for your 401k, a target date fund might make sense. It might be appropriate for you. It's unlikely by the time you get to 50 that target date fund is still going to make sense. It's more likely that you're going to want to get you're going to want to optimize your diversification instead of just getting a all-in-one kind of prefabricated position.
Yeah, I mean, you've accumulated so much in those retirement accounts that you have the ability to truly diversify, and maybe at a much greater level than what those target date funds will do for you.
Yeah.
If you want an easy turnkey option early on, target date fund might be fine, but I wouldn't stick with that all the way through to retirement.
Right. And the more money you have, the more money you can have exposed to equities. Mm-hmm. Because if you're in your 50s right now, you're going to need an 8% compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, as we call it. It's not what those guys at Western Michigan University have every weekend. But so you want to have an 8% compound annual growth rate to ward off the impacts of taxes and inflation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people don't necessarily need that because they've got enough money, and they've got a mountain of money, and they're very careful with their money so they don't spend anywhere near what a normal person might spend. But most folks still need to be on risk. And if you have enough and you're over the hump, you can be on risk until you die, because this money is a lot of it's going to end up going to the kids.
Long term.
Yeah.
So, all right, mistake number 4, in your 50s, not planning ahead for healthcare costs. I see this manifesting in really 2 very specific ways. In your 50s, that's a time where you should start preparing for the biggest health insurance decision of your life. And that is, what's your health insurance going to be when you retire? Are you going to go with traditional Medicare or Medicare Advantage, Medicare Part C? So even though you're not making that decision in your 50s, it's time to start getting educated so that you know, all right, which approach is best. But then the second, in your 50s, how do you want to manage the long-term care risk, the risk of you needing assistance later in your life, not right at retirement. We're talking about in your 80s, right? Many decades from then. You might say, well, why would I decide that in my 50s? Because in your 50s, you've got choice. Mm-hmm. You've got more choice. By the time you get to your 60s, and certainly by the time you get to your 70s, the choices are gone.
That's exactly right, because a lot of the insurance type tools, the protection planning options available to you, they get more and more expensive the older that you get. And eventually, as you said, Mike, you get to your 60s and it's just cost prohibitive. It's too expensive, and you've kind of ruled it out by not taking action. What might have been affordable to put in place 5 years earlier now might just be off the table. But either one, you need to educate yourself and to understand, what are my choices, what are the tools available, and what are they going to cost? Because that needs to be baked into your retirement projections. Mm-hmm. This is part of the money you're going to be spending in retirement. We'll consider it as part of your lifestyle, just like you're going to put money towards food and housing and travel and all the fun stuff. You're going to have healthcare expenses as well, and that needs to be baked into your forecasts.
And if your income's $500,000 a year and it's going to be for the foreseeable future, we have lots of clients in retirement that are paying more for their health insurance because of IRMA than they were when they were working for their company. So this is where you say, well, what can I have? What kind of tools can I have to kind of fight against that? Man, fund that HSA. We have lots of clients now with a couple $100,000 in their HSA. And that's just putting in 7, 8, 9, 10 grand a year and letting that money compound over a number of years. And you can use that money to pay for your Part B.
Yep.
And so this is where I'm saying, use the tools available to you. Corey and I were meeting with a company yesterday. Their health plan is an HSA eligible health insurance plan. And the folks at the table said, yeah, we don't really get it. Most of us don't use the HSA. And it made me sad, because this is why we're doing this show.
Yeah.
To tell people, look, there are amazing financial tools out there that you should avail yourself to because they are going to be hugely helpful down the road.
I want to circle back to something, Josh, you said. I think that's another big mistake that people can make in their 50s, not planning on their healthcare costs in their retirement projections. When you're in your 50s, you're building that retirement plan or you're updating it and making sure, am I on the right track? You're starting to kind of narrow in on, well, what are those key financial or retirement decisions? If you're not factoring in health insurance costs into that, you're getting a false positive.
That's right.
Or false negative. Or if you're not incorporating the right healthcare costs, you're getting, it's garbage in, garbage out.
It's the fundamental problem with using online calculators as just a quick and easy back of the napkin type of an approach to planning your retirement. A lot of them will just simply ask you, what age do you want to retire? How aggressive do you want to be between here and there? And what percentage of your income do you want to replace? As if that, dials in exactly what the need will be. It is far better to give thoughtful consideration to what your expenses are going to be in retirement. And this is one of the big ones for sure.
Yep. Mistake number 5, often people make this mistake in their 50s, failing to update estate documents and beneficiaries. By the time you're 50, if you've got a family, kids are older, more mature, and my guess is if you've got a will, the will still lists who the guardians are. And those kids yet are adults. That no longer really applies. That doesn't mean simply by having a guardian listed within your will and estate documents that they're now obsolete because your kids are adults. But it might mean you've still got, Uncle Jim listed as the power of attorney when in fact now the kids really, or one of the kids really should do that. It's very possible you haven't been updating your beneficiaries or reviewing that. If you're still working for the same employer, you might not have the kids listed as contingent beneficiaries on the 401k or the life insurance that you have through work. So reviewing all of that in your 50s and making some adjustments, that's critical.
Man, it's such a sad one because for this one to matter, someone has passed away, right? Your estate plan doesn't matter as long as you're both living and everything is great, but you never know. And what did I read recently? The average age for a widow, so a wife to lose her husband, she is on average age 59 point something.
Oh, my goodness.
So this is in your 50s. And man, again, that's an average. There's some who unfortunately experience that tragedy much, much earlier. And obviously we all hope that, no, we're going to live a long, long retirement together and we're going to die in our 80s or 90s. That may not be you. And so it is important at all stages of the game to have your estate plan in place so that you're not leaving, in addition to a tragic situation, truly a financial devastation of sorts for your family.
Yeah.
Getting this stuff in place is critical.
So this isn't just unique to your 50s, although that stage of life certainly lends itself to, it's a good idea to update and review your estate planning. But if you're listening to this and saying, I'm in my 30s, I'm not 50, get your estate plan in place. Make sure it's appropriate for your entire financial situation. Estate planning is the 6th area of your financial life. Again, often thought of as sort of this separate thing. I'll just get a will and I'm all set. No, you need to look at how that estate plan connects with the other 5 areas of your financial life and get an appropriate plan in place. All right, we've got more coming up here on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group.
I couldn't remember if that was end of 3rd or 4th.
So what is it?
I mean, we're going into the 4th, right?
Yep, 4th segment.
Yeah, I actually didn't. I had a hard time believing what Joshua said. So I asked, what is the average age a woman becomes a widow in the United States? And it took a little bit of time, but the average age a woman becomes a widow in the United States is 59 years old. That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. I wouldn't have believed it.
The average is 59. The median, 59.4. I didn't need that statistics class after all.
Average is average is average.
It's all
Jeez.
It's all right there.
Give it a break, Professor.
Serious.
All right. Here we go. Fourth segment. Gonna hit number 6 and 7, and then any additional honorable mentions. What other big mistakes you guys see in their people making their 50s? I think these last two will be a little bit faster, so start thinking. Here we go. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show with Corhorn Financial Group. My name is Mike Bernard, and with me in the KFG studios, Kevin Corhorn and Josh Gregory. Every episode of the Wise Money Show, as well as a lot of other content, is right there on the YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, search the Wise Money Show, subscribe to it there so you're made aware every time we drop new content by turning on notifications. And not only will you get the full library of every talk show, but also Next Wise Step videos that air all throughout the work week right there on the channel as well. Different playlists, different e-learning series and so on. Lots of content right there. Go to YouTube, search The Wise Money Show. Talking about the big, costly money mistakes people make in their 50s, that retirement red zone right before they retire. They get a little bit off course. And these in and of themselves, there isn't one that, you're no longer able to retire. But still, it's a mistake nonetheless and can be costly. We want to help you avoid these mistakes. And so we're sharing with them with you right now. Number 6, still accumulating debt in your 50s right before retirement. Now, I think more common because of housing affordability. I think more common because of the rise of college costs. Parents, you might be willing to take on some debt to help launch kids, either their graduate school or something like that. So you might be still accumulating debt in your 50s. Here's why that can be a problem. Debt makes your financial life and your cash flow less flexible. And so when we look at the 5 factors of your retirement, the 5 factors that determine whether you are on track for a confident retirement, one of them is spending, retirement spending. That's the second factor. And if you inject a rigid, inflexible monthly payment into that, all of a sudden, that either could increase the amount of retirement spending, and you need to incorporate that into your planning, or it could mean that you have less flexibility and less choice with your spending, and therefore some of the things that you want as part of your retirement, you're going to need to say no to.
That becomes most crucial when we enter into a bear market. When the market is down and you have obligated yourself to certain payments in retirement and you're drawing off of those investment accounts, but you're having to sell more and more and more shares in order to harvest the right amount of cash to keep up with your payments, you can very quickly cannibalize your retirement nest egg by just selling off too much of it at depressed prices. And then you don't own them when the recovery comes. When the bounce back occurs, your shares aren't bouncing back because you don't own them anymore. Mm-hmm. That's a major risk, and it is the fundamental reason why flexibility when you get to retirement is something that you want to have pre-built. You've put yourself in a position where you have options in retirement.
Yeah, the average mortgage gets paid off, depending on the source you're looking at, somewhere between 62 to 65. And I would say, and we've been talking about mistakes people make in their 50s, I would say if you want to get something right in your 50s, make the list of financial rocks that need to be moved out of your path to secure a comfortable retirement. And so that one of those things on that list would be cleaning up my balance sheet, right? Yep. Yeah. I want to get rid of all debt possible. That gives me the maximum flexibility and freedom, and allows me to direct the dollars to the places that make the most sense.
Yep. The other thing that does, I know we're not getting to bonus material yet, but I'm going to tuck one in anyway.
Go ahead.
Because I think one of the mistakes that a lot of people can just fall into, unfortunately, when they get into their 50s, is they can have lifestyle creep. You know, you are in your peak earning years. You have the flexibility right now to spend more than you've ever gotten to spend. Maybe the kids are out of the house now and it's time to party. And you could just really get used to running with a different crowd or vacationing with a different style or whatever. There might be new goals that suddenly are created. But what you just described, Kevin, was putting in your sights, setting as a target some of the elimination type of goals that you have the cash flow power to go achieve if you're willing to sacrifice some of the lifestyle that you otherwise would be able to afford.
Well, and as the only guy at the table who's lived 7 years in my 50s, I can tell you what happens over time is in your 50s, you do get some freedom. Mm-hmm. And you get some freedom and you say, hey, now I have some freedom. Who can tell me what to do? Right? And it's still really just me who needs to tell me what to do and say, hey, get up when the alarm goes off and go exercise and work and have a budget and because in your 50s, really most of the structure anymore is self-imposed structure. Mm-hmm. And if you move away from that, it's likely to your own demise.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, Josh, your lifestyle creep comment actually flows right into mistake number 7. And we'll tuck this in really quickly, but it's not taking advantage of catch-up contributions. In your 50s, as Kevin was mentioning, you have the ability to contribute even more into your retirement accounts, your tax-sheltered retirement accounts. Starts at age 50 for your 401k and your IRA, Roth IRA. Starts at age 55 for whatever reason, none for your HSA. But then there's also this super catch-up that started this year and for ages 60, 61, 62, 63. At 64, you go back to the regular catch-up. Why? No one knows. That's completely made up as well. So what's the point of bringing all this up? And you might say, yeah, no, this is my time to party, or we're trying to accomplish some other goals. Why are you telling me that I need to contribute even more? Well, you might not. Maybe you shouldn't. So much of financial success is going to be based on balance. Work with your certified financial planner. What we're saying is you now have the ability to leverage these tax accounts, these tax sheltered accounts, to keep more dollars growing tax sheltered in your pocket and do some strategic tax planning. Take advantage of it if it makes sense for your financial situation.
Yeah, I think one of the mistakes that you could make, and this would be bonus content as well, is unrequired sacrifice. So you say, hey, I am really piling it on. I'm stacking it up like cordwood. Well, what if you already had enough? And if you already had enough, if you knew you already had enough, how might you do it differently? Now, most of the folks we're working with are saying, hey, listen, I got here by fully funding everything I could to the limit my entire career. So I'm kind of in that habit, and so I'm doing it. But what if you didn't have to? Would you do something differently? And this, again, is why you want to work with a planner who is certified, who will address the 6 areas of your financial life and help you make sure you've got each of these financial areas addressed so they know, Little Red Riding Hood, too much, too little, just right. Mm-hmm. Is that little, or is that Goldilocks?
That's Goldilocks.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's all right.
Okay.
You're in your 50s. We give you a pass. Josh, what else? What are some other common mistakes people make in their 50s so people can avoid them?
I mean, for our entire careers, what has been the number one regret that we hear when people come sit in our offices for the very first time?
Should have come in sooner.
Yeah. Procrastination is still public enemy number one.
Planning procrastination?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my number one as well.
Realizing in your 50s that maybe you could have done it even better in your 40s or in your 30s. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. Like, I think part of your certified financial planner's role is to help you eliminate regrets in your financial life, because regrets come when you're focused too intently on the past for reasons other than to just learn from them and focus on the future. If you get bogged down or you're just fixated on, I wish I would have done this better, I wish I had done this differently, those regrets just steal energy that should be going towards a pivot or an improvement for the future. And so as soon as you can, as soon as it's necessary to be able to begin planning fresh right now, stop looking at the past and start looking forward, That is why you hire a coach. It's the reason why you work with a certified financial planner, to take advantage of the days that you still have left in your working career, the accumulation that you can still do, and the sacrifices that can still make a major difference in your financial outcomes for the future.
Yeah, that's right. It's a 5-factor retirement plan. Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you want to take your first step with that, you can go to wisemoneyguides.com. We've got a 5-factor retirement guide. Now, it doesn't give you any answers. It just helps. It's a workbook helping you through some of those key decisions that you get to make in preparation for working with your CFP to see how that plan all fits together. So work with your certified financial planner on that. That's all the time we have for today. On behalf of Josh Gregory, Kevin Korhorn, all of us at Korhorn Financial Group, have a great weekend. We'll see you next time for the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group.
Securities offered through Silver Oak Securities, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through KFG Wealth Management, LLC. Doing business as Korhorn Financial Group. KFG Wealth Management, LLC and Silver Oak Securities Incorporated companies are unaffiliated.